Good morning this morning, my love muffins.
Good morning.
And good morning, my cyber love muffins. Thank you for being here today. Wow, we have a lot of people that are in the hospital, are sick, have had some pretty dismal diagnosis and prognosis, and so we can use all of our faithful believing consciousness and spiritual law being superior to physical law. Know the truth?
The truth shall set you free.
So last week's truth that we focused on was, don't worry, be happy. As the Dalai Lama said, it just doesn't serve us. If we have a situation that we can fix, there's no need to worry. And if we have a situation that we can't fix, then there's no help in worrying. So don't worry. And we weren't talking about normal, everyday, fleeting fretting. We were talking about fear and fright that stems from our worry. And what was the difference between fret and fright?
2 minutes.
About 2 minutes. The amount of time that we persisted on focusing on those types of thoughts and feelings. So our mission was don't fright back, faith back. To use thoughts or feelings of worry and concern as a reminder to practice faith in that superior goodness and grace of God flowing through all of us at all times. Well, I confess that many times this week I exceeded the 2-minute fret limit and went over to nurturing the idea of worry and concern. And of course I slapped myself around and tried to stop it, which is exactly what we said you shouldn't try to do, right? Because if we try to stop it, we put more energy into it, and what's the saying? Whatever we resist persists. And I was trying to get Alice to remind me of a situation we had that was just like this, but we couldn't come up with it. But I'm not worried about us not being able to remember. But it reminds me of a story of a man who was trying to move a couch out of his house, and it got stuck in the door. So he asked his neighbor to help, and they struggled until they were both exhausted. And finally the neighbor said, "We're never going to get it in." And the homeowner said, "In?" So there they are. He was trying to get it in, and the homeowner was trying to get it out. Well, consciousness creates. And sometimes when we try to stop our thoughts, the same thing happens. We're trying to push something away, and at the very time we're trying to push it away, we're seeding it with the energy that pushes it right back into our mind. And this is not to be unexpected, considering most of our thinking and most of our reactions we know come from a history of experience where our reactions really, most of the time, are also on autopilot. They're just conditioned, they're programmed responses, the kind of habit thinking. But here's the thing about habit thinking. Habit thinking is not an excuse. It's an explanation. For we new thoughters that believe consciousness creates and thoughts are things, there is no excuse. There's only a choice. And that choice is ours. The law doesn't have a choice. The law doesn't have free will. It's the servant to our thoughts and our feelings and our words. It must obey whatever we say. But we always have choice in thought, even if it's running on autopilot. At any time, as we develop awareness, we can make a choice to direct those thoughts a different place. As Ernest Holmes taught, creation doesn't need us to make it work, but it does need something to work with. It needs our thoughts. So this week, in my spiritual thought practice, the faith back, not freight back, I was very aware that I not only had a variety of repetitious and persistent worry habit thoughts, but I added worrying about worrying to the list, right? every time I felt it, I was like, oh my God, I got to stop doing it. I'm only going to create more of what I don't want. And so then I just would perseverate over that for a while. So it just creates a consciousness of suffering instead of holding that faith. So it's safe to say so far, I have not mastered my worry and fear thoughts. How do you not worry when you care about someone or something? How do you keep it in the frame of a fret that's just fleeting? How do you keep from being preoccupied with it? Well, you know what we like to say about so far. We haven't come this far to only come this far. So we're always searching, we're always seeking, we're always studying, we're always learning, and then finding new insights that raise our souls to a higher place, finding new practices that we can experiment with until we manage to shift this programming in our consciousness to a place of operating on autopilot with faith. And what kept calling me this week as I got ready to do this was Buddha's declaration that attachment is the root of all suffering. Attachment is the cause of all suffering. Well, I struggle with this idea too. It's kind of like, don't worry, right? How do you not be attached? How are we unattached when we care? Wouldn't that be cold and kind of inhumane? So it seemed a good place to seek some clarity about how to faith back instead of fright back. What is meant by this idea of not being attached? And Buddha taught that the root of suffering is attachment because we often forget that the nature of life is change. Change is the only constant. Everything we can possibly think of changes, right? Seasons, technology, politics, finances, our kids, our friends, our fun, our bodies, our brains, our capabilities, and so on and so on and so on. And the thinking is we suffer unnecessarily when we don't accept the transient and impermanent nature of all things. When we're attached to someone or something, we want them or it to be a certain way. And when they're not, we're not happy campers, right? It definitely disturbs our peace vibe. So how do we remain unattached? And again, I wonder, why would we even want to? Because it feels so distant from the very emotions and thoughts of connection and love and unity that we're working to foster and nourish. So I get the consciousness creates, but attachments and worry seem to be unavoidable byproduct of being human, don't they? So how do we not long for what we want? How do we not be attached to the people and the places and the things and experiences that we desire? I want my people to be well. I don't want them to hurt. I don't want to see them scared. I don't want to see them going through the things that they're going through, and I worry about it. I more than fret. I worry about it. When they're sick and hurting, I can feel it in me. I am attached to their healing, and I am distressed about their lack of well-being. So how do I stop thinking about that? How do I shift so that I'm not attached to that? If attachment causes suffering, do I have to give up caring? Is that what it means? Do I have to give up wanting things to be better? So I didn't really understand this. So I went searching a lot of the different websites and information on attachment. And I came across Sister Shivani, who is a practitioner in Brahma Kumaris, which is a worldwide spiritual movement founded in India. And the interesting thing about it is it was founded by a man, but he populated it with women as the leaders, as the ministers or the practitioners of it. And actually, they believe that the world will be destroyed by nuclear and climate cataclysms. And so their focus is on helping individuals transform their perspective of the world from material to spiritual. You know, science would certainly agree with them, right? The sun's supposed to be bigger than the earth someday and melt this, right? I mean, if you look at science, nothing's permanent. Everything is transient. So they focus on moving from the concept of this material world to nurturing and understanding better the truth of who we are. Know the truth, and the truth shall set us free, of our spiritual nature. So her talk about attachment gave me a little bit more clarity, at least the clarity that I felt I needed to help my spiritual understanding and practice in this particular area. And she explained it like this. She said, peace is calm, right? Calm and stable. That's what peace is. And we can harbor a lot of thoughts and generate a lot of feelings that interfere with peace. Like what thoughts, what feelings interfere with peace?
Fear.
Fear, absolutely. Worry. What else?
Anxiety.
Anxiety.
Stress. Envy.
Depression, envy. Exactly. There's a whole list of these emotions, and when we engage in these thoughts and emotions, what they do is they shift us away from peace, which is calm and is stable. Because peace is our nature. And right thinking is aligned with that truth of who we are. So peace is not thinking. Peace is right thinking. Peace is not trying to stop ourselves from thinking. Nobody can stop thinking. Peace is right thinking. Whatever the situation, we're creating the right thoughts to go with that situation. So peace is our nature, and peace comes natural to us. So non-attachment is not losing anything. It's not caring. It's not giving up on anyone. We do everything the way we would anyway. And the only difference is non-attachment means our minds will not be dependent on them. How many people in here have a cell phone? Are you attached to your cell phone? No. Nowadays they seem to be an extension of our limbs. But take your cell phone and smash it on the floor. If you feel distressed about that, you're attached. If it cracks and you're untouched, well, that means that you're managing to use your cell phone without attachment. Now, this doesn't mean we keep throwing our cell phones and smashing them on the floor. We take care of it as best we can, but our minds are not attached to it. So if it cracks, the crack remains in the phone, not in our minds. If the phone cracks, we're fine. If the phone cracks, we'll get a new phone. But if our mind cracks, there's no getting a new mind. You only have one mind. So when we leave church today and we pull out of the parking lot and bam, we have a little bumper thumper and our car gets dented, attachment means the dent in the car equals a dent in our mind, a dent in our heart. My sister actually used to use this terminology when she would talk about very emotional things or things that were hard on me. She said, oh yeah, I got dented. That dented me. So the dent in the car is a dent in our mind. Detachment means a dent in the car is a dent in a car. So attachment is the cause of all suffering, because attachment to anything and everything has the potential to disturb the mind. And mind is our power. Mind is the home of our spirituality. Mind is the connection to our oneness and to our grace and good. So if we're attached to body, well, then even a wrinkle creates chaos in our mind, doesn't it? Even an extra pound causes torment in our mind, right? It doesn't stay in the body. It goes through our mind. So attachment means when things outside of our being are not going the way we want, then our mind is disturbed. And we who believe consciousness creates do not want our minds being victim to the external world. So practicing non-attachment means when things are not the way we want them to be, we accept them, we respond to them, and then we expand our mind to include and normalize them. You know, last week we said too many times we label things, and that's the source of a lot of our distress, not the actual situation, but whether we label the situation a good thing or a bad thing, instead of just labeling it a thing. So we accept what's happening. We respond to it in the way that we would, but then we focus on expanding our mind to include it and to normalize it as part of the necessity of a physical expression in this world. And we sense our minds being inclusive and expansive. And the example they gave, which I loved, was imagine your mind, your being like the sky. And the sky, regardless of what's going on, stays open and receptive and accepting. It will accept all the clouds that can possibly be generated. And it's never harmed by even the stormiest clouds, right? The sky exists in itself beyond all that activity that goes into it. So imagine ourselves being that expansive, because that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about communing with God and grace and good, when we're talking about being one with this power that is greater than we are, we're talking about an expansiveness that is so far beyond our worries. It includes our worries. We can be very worried. But this expansiveness includes that as part of our expression. We didn't come this far to only come this far. Know the truth? So know the truth of who you are. This is what it's about as we focus on worry, as we talk about our attachment to things are not going the way we want them. Focus on the truth of who we are. A-R-E, are. Accept it, respond to it, and expand it in our minds. When we start practicing this form of detachment, accepting it, responding to it, and then expanding to understand that that's just part of the allness that we are, we begin to strengthen our soul. Up to a higher place. We literally begin to strengthen that fire of life that is the very definition of who we are. And as we strengthen that, it becomes increasingly possible to remain in a peaceful place regardless of what's going on around us, regardless of being worried, regardless of grieving, regardless of crying and being sad. We have the capacity to still remain in a place of peace, because when we expand it, the sky is always peaceful. The clouds and the turbulence just go on. And what's Ram Dass say all the time? This too shall pass. I love this story because He was somebody was training to meditate and kept going to him, going, "Oh my God, I try so hard every single day. I spend so much time, and it never works. It never works." And Ram Dass just kept saying, "This too shall pass. This too shall pass." Finally, one day, the student came up to him and said, "Oh my God, it worked. I felt myself connect and commune." And Ram Dass said, "This too shall pass." Right? It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a thing. And as we expand our awareness of the truth of who we are, we include those things instead of trying to push that couch out the door while someone else is trying to push it in. So the moral is, do not accept a distressed state of mind as if it's normal. It's not normal. It happens as part of our life, but it's not normal, and it doesn't come natural to us. Peace is normal. Feeling an experience of peace comes natural to us. But since we came into this bodily form, then we began creating things, focusing on things like anger, like envy, like jealousy, like depression, like sadness, that began to block that awareness of peace. But peace never went anywhere, because those things are not normal. Those things are learned. Those things are practiced. Those things are planted and nourished and grown. But peace has never been diminished, has never been destroyed. So do not accept a distressed state of mind as normal. And we have a lot of people that are sick, and that and I'm sure many other people are very worried about them. Isn't that normal? No, it really isn't normal. That's where we have to be careful. Of course, it's a natural, normal as we know it, programmed way, habit thought, habit reaction that we are used to having as part of connecting and saying we care, and worry is not normal. If we can fix it, we don't need to worry. And if we can't fix this, there's no help in worry. Worry is not normal. Being one with this and in faith with this peace and this truth of who we are, that is normal. There was a story, do you remember Tuesdays with Maury? Well, one of the stories he did was about a wave. He said a little wave bobbing along in the ocean was having a grand old time. He was worry-free, enjoying the wind and the fresh air, until he noticed the other waves in front of him crashing against the shore. "My God, this is terrible," the little wave said. "Look what's happening to my friends. Look what's going to happen to me." Then along came another wave. It saw the first wave was looking very grim, and he asked, "Why do you look so sad?" And the first wave said, "Don't you see? They're all crashing, and we're going to crash too. We're going to be nothing. Isn't it terrible?" And the second wave said, "No, you don't understand. You're not a wave. You're the ocean playing as a wave." That's normal. The wave in the ocean will never be a wave by itself. It will always be the ocean acting as a wave. We will never be life by ourselves. We will always be the life of God, the life of the Creator, the life of the divine source, playing as life. This is normal. And this is what comes natural to us. And as we journey and we continue and insist on these practices and constantly going back and learning, each time we have a new awareness. Each time we have a new practice, A-R-E, accept, respond, and expand. We begin to decrease the nourishment that we're feeding those unnatural, those attachments to trying to control things that are not in our control, those things that are the source of suffering. So this week's revelation for me was our worries don't have so much to do with the presence of something bad. they have more to do with the absence of something good. They have more to do with the absence of peace, not the presence of illness. They have more to do with the absence of peace, not the presence of financial problems. The absence of peace, not the absence of a smooth and harmonious relationship. They have more to do with the absence of something than the presence. Our peace is never about the stuff the world is made of. It's about the stuff we're made of. And we're made of good stuff. We're made of God stuff. Even when hard stuff is going on all around us, we're made of good stuff. It's not life situations that disturb our peace. It's how we go through them. It's not that we're aching. It's not that we're grieving. It's not that we're crying. That's accepting and responding. It's that we're not expanding and including this as just part of this God playing as life. So non-attachment is not about trying to escape life experiences. It's about finding God's peace amidst life situations. You know, my favorite, and your favorite, Maya Angelou, said, "You may not be able to control the events that happen to you, but you can decide to not be reduced by them." And when we really get overwhelmed with fear and anxiety, we're getting reduced by the situations instead of accepting them, responding to them with our variety of human emotions, and then expanding into the truth of who we are. So, my friends, your mission, if you so choose to accept it, know the truth. Truth shall set you free. So know the truth of who you are. A-R-E. Accept, respond, expand. Say it with me. A-R-E. Accept, respond, expand. We want the type of peace that's indifferent to what happens around us. And as we practice those things, we will find we can worry and be at peace. I have been able to be very concerned about my people and to find this place where I feel like the waves crashing on the shore and just know it's God play. Peace that doesn't come from determination but comes from our divine nature and comes natural to all of us. A-R-E. Accept, respond, expand. There's no situation that peace can't enter. We can't go back and make a new start, but we can start now and make a new ending. We are the people, now is the time, and this is the way. Namaste, my friends.